ask Councilwoman Jackson if she would lead us in invocation.
Thank you, sir. Yes, we thank you, Heavenly Father, for bringing us here together as a community. I ask that you make us just and humble stewards and managers of your creation, your provision, and your good purpose. In your name we pray. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Item 2, the minutes have been deferred, so we'll move on straight to item 3, bids and purchases. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Councilor Griffin?
Yes, I was wondering if Steve Kirk could come up and give us a little explanation on that $22,000 change order.
Councilmember, will you put your mic on, please?
Steve, can you give us some details on the change order? Spring Fishburne, $22,000.
It wasn't Spring Fishburne, it was another drainage project. Pump station, yeah, the pump station.
Change order, okay. The question, Steve, was if we could get some explanation on the $22,000 change order for a pump station.
Sure, absolutely. So when we needed to replace the dewatering pump discharge pipe brackets, it was found that the brackets were not installed as per the as-built conditions. So originally we were going to reuse the 316 stainless roll studs that were in there, but because the brackets were not installed per the as-built plans, the contractor needed to do some additional work to be able to reinstall the new brackets in a proper fashion.
Okay, Councilman Griffin.
My question was, when I was reading through that, find it on here, who put them on backwards? Did the same company that fixed it put them on backwards?
No, sir. That was the original contractor who built the pump station back in 2000.
Is there any chance that we can go back to them and have them reimburse us for some of this cost since they didn't do it correctly?
I really don't know about the.
It was constructed in 2000, you said?
Around there,
Roughly.
yes. That was
Okay.
before my time.
I would like our legal staff at least to look into that. I mean, if somebody does a job that isn't good enough for us, and then we're going back to paying the bill, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
What's a typical bonding period of time?
We can look into it. I would think the statute of limitations is probably long gone, and any other options we have to pursue that have expired, but we can certainly look at it, sir.
Maybe we need to make a note the next time we hire them on a job that they did, because it's costing us a lot of money.
Sure. Councilor Wagner?
Yeah, I don't think personally, in the contract world I used to live in, I don't think there's a statute of limitation when you do something like that, but I'm very well wrong. I mean, I've worked in the military world, and I know we wouldn't have allowed them to put it in backwards and then come back a year or two later and say, oh yeah, we'll pay for that because you screwed it up. You know, we don't do that. I don't think it'd be done out here either. But anyway, that's just my thoughts.
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. Any other questions on bids and purchases? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 4 is approval of accept the 2019 Keep South Carolina Beautiful Palmetto Grant.
Approval. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it. Item 5 is a police department approval independent contract agreement for an amount of $25,000. Any discussion? Councilor Moody.
Yeah,
excuse me. I'm sorry.
I don't know whether the chief or exactly who's ordering this particular thing. I know we've had the elimination project. It seems like we have approved a $10,000 contract with this group a couple months ago. November. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. What do we get? What are we hoping to get? How much more do we need to approve?
Last year, the original contract was with Seidler and Associates, with Margaret Seidler's company, and that was for $25,000. She stepped down, and Kylon Middleton took over her responsibilities. So we executed a new contract with Kylon and terminated the one with Margaret. And so the $10,000 was what was remaining off of the $25,000 that Margaret Seidler's contract had, and that went directly to Kylon Middleton. Now he's doing the consulting services for the illumination project this year, so the entire $25,000 was a contract with Kylon Middleton.
I guess I'm not that familiar. I know what the Seidler was doing. I mean, that was the whole start, and I just want to be sure what are we expecting out of this? Is this going to be the management of that illumination project? Or is that...
He does listening sessions in the community with the chief. He's the moderator for our Citizens Advisory Council. They had a recent event at one of the churches with the solicitor and Chief Reynolds. There was a hate crimes community forum that he was part of. So he kind of coordinates all these listening sessions, and he works closely with Chief Reynolds on community issues and relations. So,
how does all this dovetail with our bias audit that we're doing? Is that all part of it? Is it all tied, or it should be coordinated in some way, I would think?
Yeah. This certainly will be a part of what we, the information we provide to the company that's doing the audit, this program, and what we've been doing with that. So.
Councilman Mitchell, and
before we go on, I would like to withdraw my motion.
You'd like to withdraw your motion?
Yes, because this is the pastor of my church, and I don't want to. I don't want to come back and say a conflict of interest, so I'm going to.
That's good.
Sign something. I'm going to withdraw my motion.
Somebody else like to submit a motion? Okay.
I will stand in for his motion. Yes, thank you.
Okay, and we have a second? Okay, and then I think, all right, Councilwoman Jackson, and then.
I think Mr. Moody sounded like he was, or Councilmember Moody sounded like he was satisfied, but there is a very healthy list of scope of services that was in our packet. So it seems like, just looking at the time that's spent and the diversity of experience that will continue to benefit our community and their interactions with our police on an ongoing basis, I'm supportive of this contract.
All right, Councilor Seekins.
So in terms of payment, is this just a lump sum contract, or is it a services provided hourly contract? How do we pay this?
It's a lump sum that we pay out, I believe, monthly. We pay $2,500 a month until we get to the $25,000. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor?
Again, I think the question has been satisfied, but I just wanted to remind everyone that the illumination project actually came up with, I believe the number was 86 strategies. And so it's a very comprehensive program of various things that our police department does, but also that the facilitator conducts and monitors and helps us keep track of as well. And if to use an expression, they also somewhat act like a SWAT team whenever we have an area of concern. For example, a few months ago, after there were a number of incidents of gun violence on James Island, we conducted jointly with the town of James Island a listening session, community forum to address gun violence on the island of James Island. And so once again, we called upon Kylon and the Illumination Project to help facilitate that and lead that effort. It was very beneficial, I think, to all involved. And so in addition to the ongoing thing, they also act really when need arises.
Councilman Lewis?
To answer your question, Councilmember Moody, he will be working with the racial bias consultants as of yesterday at the Public Safety Committee meeting, because when they were here at the last time, they had a meeting at Ebenezer Church and the community did not know nothing about it. So one of his responsibility now to make sure that when these consultants come back to Charleston, the community will be engaged wherever neighborhood they will have meetings in.
All right, Councilor Griffin?
Just the last point that we've all been kind of circling around it, but I don't think anybody said it. This 25,000 is a yearly thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 6 is a police department approval of memorandum of understanding between CPD and Charleston County School District for Fraser Elementary. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 7 is housing and community development. The mayor and city council are requested to approve a memorandum of understanding between the city of Charleston Public Housing Authority. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 8 is a housing and community development requested to approve a construction contract between Howell & Howell Contractors and the city. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Oh, yes.
I did have one question. When we sell these properties to somebody in Florida, where does that money go? How does that come back in? Does that just go back into the housing?
So we'll leave some subsidy in, and then some comes back, and if Michelle Johnson's here, I saw her earlier.
Councilmember, turn your mic on.
Oh, yeah.
And Gianna's on, sorry.
Just, if you could just speak to the, once the houses are sold, the proceeds that do in fact come back to the
Yes,
city, those that
they
stay
do.
as a subsidy, et cetera.
Correct. And typically, Councilmember Moody, we leave in our acquisition costs and other pre-development costs as permanent subsidy because that transfers to literally every owner that buys that property, and it keeps what they have to mortgage lesser for a lesser amount. But in the case of these properties, once they're sold or they secure their mortgage for the set amount, that comes back to the city.
And I know we're going to have something on real estate to buy some property, and that money is available for those, like we're talking about the real estate committee. Is that?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that's a different account, but yes.
It keeps rolling.
It keeps coming back.
Right.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Mayor.
Could we ask Ms. Shaw Johnson to also share with council what the, quote, Katrina cottages are and just the concept behind those?
Sure. They're a specific design that came, many of them, if you were to visit Bluffton or the Beaufort area, you would see the Katrina cottage designs that came out of the tragedy that happened in New Orleans with the storm there. But from that, Marianne Cusado designed a set house that was in remembrance, if you will, of the type of house that you would have found there. And so we were able to link with that particular designer to bring those Katrina cottages here. So 3 houses, 2 on the west side, 1 on the east side, will come to us in this design, new to Charleston, but certainly not new to the Low Country.
Councilman Waring, and then I'll come to Councilwoman Jackson.
Hey, Jim, would you expand, would you please expand on the, the cost of the property and how that's going to be diminished by putting multiple units on it?
The cost of the property, what?
And how that land cost is going to be spread across putting?
Yes, sir. So we have 3 lots, and I will put in council's remembrance that these lots are those that originally we transferred to the Episcopal Diocese Choteau of South Carolina. They were not in a position to continue or finalize the development, so we took these properties back probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. And so literally what happens is the acquisition cost, which I don't have with me today, we literally look at a full development budget that includes acquisition costs, your geotechnical costs, your architectural design. We literally include that all in one. So for instance, if we pay $25,000 for the designs on these houses, we would split that between the 3 or allocate it specific to that house. And then literally what we do, as I was saying to Councilmember Moody earlier, we then basically back out some of those cost and leave it in as permanent subsidy, which we record, of course, with the deed. And that amount reduces the amount that the end buyer has to finance. So if the house costs $200,000 and we leave $50,000 in, for instance, $50,000 is that permanent subsidy, then they're actually financing $150,000 in a house. So when they go to whatever bank, South State or whomever they go to, and get that money from South State, then that amount of money also comes back to the city and goes back into our coffers to use for additional affordable housing purposes. Hopefully that answered your question. You're welcome.
Councilwoman Jackson, and then I'll come.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Councilman Gregory.
Just for information purposes, does any of the subsidy go away after staying in the property for a long time, so it's permanently attached to
under the first-time home ownership program, we have 90-year restrictive covenants that are recorded with the deed, so they don't go anywhere. We have 90-year restrictive covenants and 2 10-year successive covenants beyond the 90. So they don't ever go away, they don't diminish. They're permanent, if you will, subsidy.
And lastly, what is the average square footage of the Katrina cottage?
They're slightly over 1,000. I think they're 1,027 square feet, but close to 1,000. You're welcome.
And I'll just make one quick comment, because John and I had a chance to speak before the meeting about sort of a cost per square foot, and when you really start to break it down, it's fairly substantial. And this is as Gianna shared with me, you know, the cost to build downtown is substantial with the type of construction that had to be done and all that. And so, you know, we kind of laughed, it's, you know, just build more houses. Well, we got it, but it's costly, particularly to do it downtown. So, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 9 is Housing Community Development request for approval for reallocation of funds to the community block grant. Any discussion? Councilman Moody?
Why are we doing this? It looks to me like we're shifting the cost of this thing from a 50-50 block grant fee in lieu to 75-20 or 25-75. Is that what's happening here?
Ms. Shaw Johnson, you want to take a shot at that?
Councilmember Moody, when I...
Do I need to repeat my question?
Well, I think we may have picked it up, but...
3 times.
That's 2.
I'll give you a pass. You're usually good.
So when we have CDBG dollars allocated to us, we cannot have any more than 1.5 times that amount on hand. We have a number of projects, what we call in the queue, because they're waiting for environmental review clearances. But we're coming very close to when HUD does what they call a sweep, where they analyze what cities have on hand. And so because we haven't spent a certain amount of money, if we have that money on hand, HUD would look at us and say, why aren't you spending your money? Do you not have appropriate projects? And we do. The balance that we have to make sure happens is that we also get program income funds back in our coffers, just like what I described to you a few moments ago. So in order to make sure we stay in compliance with the 1.5%, we're saying or requesting from City Council tonight that funds from our program income dollars be allocated towards the expenses that have already been incurred by the Ashleyville-Maryville development. Previously, we pulled that from fee in lieu, the fee in lieu account, and what we're saying is that 351 would simply go back into fee in lieu and replace those monies that were spent. You're welcome.
One situation.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's somewhat true, Mr. Chairman, if I may chime in. And despite the mantra of our federal government trying to reduce bureaucracy and waste, in fact, we don't see that happening, particularly in the Housing and Urban Development Department. And so we're looking at our programs, because even if we're spending $10,000 of this federal money to help someone repair their roof, there are 20 federal agencies we got to check with and get their clearance before we can spend the $10,000, and it's just ridiculous. And so what we are going to try to do is focus more on the bigger ticket items, so to speak, like a program like this where we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time, so that we get more efficiency or a bigger bang for our buck when it comes to getting all those approvals and federal clearances.
Councilman Shade.
And for clarification, these are the 7 homes that are already in the process of being constructed?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Lewis.
And I think y'all have heard me say this more than once on city council floor. That's why it's important for building inspection, TRC, and the other staff that's involved to approve the approvals of these houses when we build it. And I can tell you there's some cases, I've heard some cases, where our construction supervisor have problems getting the projects approved because our staff, drag their feet. And that's why you hear me say that more than once. It's important that they work with Gianna's office to make sure that when we building these houses, everybody work together to get these approvals done. If we do, then she won't be worried about how she's going to spend the money, because they'll get these projects approved and get it built.
Amen.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 10 is Budget, Finance, Revenue Collections, the approval of the Blue Cross Blue Shield HRA administration contract. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 11 is Community on Real Estate, Chairman Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real estate met a little while ago. We had a pretty extensive meeting, and I'm going to go through these items. There's a lot of important stuff here. Under A, the committee approved the application for the $6.1 million purchase of those 8.5 acres over on James Island, Fort Pemberton. It's a great project, a great piece of property. And basically what's going to happen is the Conservation Fund is going to, well, there's about $3.1 million in the Greenbelt money right now, and so we'll use that. There's a $3 million that will be short. We'll borrow that from the Conservation Fund, and then we will pay that back over the next 3 years with Greenbelt money in future applications. That was approved. Item B is that South Carolina Conservation Bank grant. As we were meeting, we got word from Jason, he was in Kronsberg, he was in Columbia, that we got a $400,000 of the $600 we applied for. So that'll be available to go back and pay off to free up some money in the conservation money. So that'll be used for that, so we won't have to use conservation money. But we were approved for $400,000. Item C, D, and E are all related. They have to do with our forensic lab that's over off of Wapu Road. We've got 3 suites in a building over there. 2 of those suites are going to be, we approved an extension of 30 days till April of 19 to get out of there. The 3rd suite, we approved that extension until September the 30th, I believe. Our plan is to move all of those out of there by the end of April. And the part of them will go to that Executive Hall Road, which is right off of Savage Road. The other part of the administrative part of the forensic lab will go over to Farmfield, and we have entered into two leases, triple net leases on both of those properties for about 3 years. That will get us to the point that we can move. We'll have our forensic lab out on Bees Ferry Road complete by that time, and we'll have it all back together. So a lot of work in those happen. We approved those items. Item F, this is an interesting one I referred to it a minute ago. We approved the purchase of that property at 36 Cooper Street. It's about a 5,300 square foot lot is what my understanding is, and we can put about a minimum of 4 affordable housing units on that piece of property. There's an old dilapidated building on there. It's a pretty good sized lot. We'll be able to tear that building down and put a minimum of 4 affordable housing. So again, kudos to Gianna Shaw Johnson and her team and the mayor in making all that stuff happen. So that was approved. Item G, that money was approved. That additional $300,000 to get us from the $3,700,000 up to $4.1. That annexation was approved. Item I, we went into executive session and we came out and we voted to purchase that easement for $600. So had a big discussion on that, obviously. So that was approved. Item J is the resolution to submit Greenbelt funding application. Brantley Park is a little less than an acre site over on James Island. It's on a tidal creek and marsh area. This is a joint venture with the town of James Island. This is a joint application. Our piece of that is $233,500. And the property is in the city of Charleston. The city of Charleston will own the property, and the town of James Island is going to basically maintain and take care of the park. So they're going to put in $233,000. We'll put in $233,500, actually, $233.5. So that acquisition was approved. And item K, we heard a discussion on the low line. But no action was taken on that item. So with all those items, Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Great, thank you. Any discussion?
Second. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jackson?
Thank you. I really appreciate Chairman Moody's detailed explanation. I think we probably need to just be on record that the approval of the Brantley Park was not for acquisition, but for being able to submit the application for funding by the Greenbelt funds, because we'll be coming back to real estate and ways and means for the acquisition of that property.
And that's the same thing for the
Pemberton.
Right. It's the application to buy, not the actual acquisition.
Councilman Lewis?
Well, item number G, you know I wouldn't be voting on that. Everybody knows that.
Well, you're in good company this go around then.
I will not vote on nothing that I think is going to displace my people one day. I may not be living, but it's going to happen one day. This West Side property is going to displace a whole lot of people in that west side. And with a good heart, I just can't vote for it. So I'll support the rest of the Real Estate Committee report, but item G, I'm voting no.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, I also voted against item G. I will say, just for the record, my vote in opposition was really about the fact that we were extending past the cap that we all committed to, and I feel like at some point we're going to have to stop spending when we don't have the money, and so that was, I'll leave it at that. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, and if there's no more business to come before this committee, we'll stand adjourned.
We're going to get going right away here. All right.